go to Weasel, cause the Weasel say, pop, yeah, come.
Yeah. Half a pound of tubany rice, half a pound of treacle. That's the way the money goes. Pop goes the weasel.
You're going to be a successful WWF villain hated by millions.
See, with the old NWA, the way they would switch the belt, the promoters would vote on it, who was in the alliance, who they thought should be the next champion. And the champion had to put a deposit down on the belt, like $25,000. Oh, really? That's so if you run off with the belt, they still got you $25,000. They can buy another belt. Yeah. And if you don't want to do the finish tonight, you have to do what they want. And with the world champion, there was only three things you did. You went an hour through, he got disqualified, or you did. Yeah. Or he beat you. Yeah. You weren't beating him. Yeah. And if you were beaten by him, you forfeited your deposit. Wow. That's so they can control you. And they would tell you you're going to win the belt on June 1st, 73 in Tampa, Florida. They'll drop it in July of 77 in Omaha. Yeah. Wow. And that's how they do it. And whoever was the president of the alliance, the champion made 13% of that gate. And the president of the alliance, whoever it was at that time, whether it was Sam Mushnick or Bob Geigel or Jim Barnett, they made 3% every night the champion worked. So all he had to do was pick up a phone and call promoters who would call him anyway and ask for the champion. He'd give them dates on him. And every time they did, that champion wrestle, he gave 3% back to whoever answered the phone. Wow. So it was a sweet deal. So they think enough of you to give you a title. I don't mean a title like the Macon Championship of Macon, Georgia. I mean a major title. To be like that is being considered like a major guy in a company. Yeah. So it'd be like being a CEO someplace to have a championship belt to a lot of the guys, because they have to draw money with it now. They have to prove they're deserving of this, and they want to make money. Yeah. Yeah. Like when they switched the belt from Morales to Stasiak. I think that was a Sunday night in Philly. And Monsoon had to go tell Morales. And no one had told Morales before this. You got a belt, you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, close to millions nowadays, more than millions, and you got your life pretty well planned. What you're going to do with all that? Next year, we're going to buy this home and this lake and this and that. Well, tonight you're not having a championship no more. And I guess that was a very emotional thing for Pedro. He was a very, very nice man. And Monsoon really didn't want to do it, but Monsoon was a part owner of the WWF back in those days. And that was a Monsoon and Vince's dad were partners, and Arnold Scotland. And you pretty much have to do what they want. Or then when it comes time for you to give the belt back, then you get your $25,000 back plus all the interest it made. You get that too. Okay. They buy bonds for you and stuff. So that's how that worked. That's what Vince did. He wants the guy like the Bret Hart thing. If he'd have put a deposit down, there'd be no question there.
Yeah, exactly. But then when WCW bought out the deposit, said, okay, bring the belt to us, we'll pay you $25,000, And I think they wanted him to come in with the belt.
The Iron Sheik told me a story, and I don't know if it's true or not. You remember when the Iron Sheik went to New York, he wrestled Bob Backlund?
Yeah.
And when he beat Bob Backlund, then the next show was supposed to be Backlund and the Sheik in the return. Well, that's what Backlund thought. Yeah. It was Sheik and Hogan. And that's when they were going to give the belt to Hogan. Yeah. Scotland went to the ring with Backlund. And during the match, Iron Sheik got him in a surfboard. Yeah. And Scotland threw the towel in. Backlund didn't know that.
Really? Now, I've always wondered about that.
And Scotland, he was told to do that. And that's how the Sheik won and beat Backlund. And I don't know if that's the way to protect Backlund so he didn't have to give up, so he didn't have to lose that way. Yeah. upset about it, I guess. And he didn't get the return the next show. It was Hogan.
Because he had to put over Hogan. Because didn't Hogan come to his defense or something like that? Or didn't they team?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I was in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
But the story I hear from the Sheik is, now he's a New York champion. Now Vince is going all over the country, every place.
Yeah.
Vern Gagne calls the Iron Sheik. He says, you come to Minneapolis with the belt. I'll put you over Nick. You'll be the AWA champion and the WWF champion, and we'll unify it to the AWA championship. I'll give you $100,000. Sheik thought about it. And then he told me, he says, you know, Vern Gagne started me, but he never made any money for me or anything. He said, Vince McMahon Sr. has always taken care of me good. They give me the belt, I make good money. He called Vince McMahon Sr. and told him about the phone call.
Oh, really?
And that is why you'll always see the Iron Sheik used by the McMahon family.
Really?
Because they appreciated his loyalty.
Wow.
Don't know if it's true or not,
Yeah.
but I think so.
Yeah. In the midst of that whole invasion thing,
Yeah.
and how he was going nationwide and everything.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what happened with the WWF. That's how they started. You know, when they used to be the WWF,
Yeah.
the Worldwide Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
And there was the AWA and the NWA. But the whole emphasis in those days was on the NWA. And that time the champion was Buddy Rogers. And Buddy Rogers was hard to do business with. If he went in to wrestle you, he'd go in to wrestle you 3 times. But he had to win the first one. Not fall, first match.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't any good and he didn't like working with you, he wouldn't come back. So a lot of guys didn't want to work with Rogers. They wanted to win the first one. Then you'd win the second, and the third one you'd have a big disqualification or something. Rogers would go over as the champion, naturally. Well, Rogers belonged to Vince McMahon. Chicago belonged to Fred Kohler at 61. And the NWA belt belonged to St. Louis. So Mushnick had Pat O'Connor. Kohler had Chicago, and McMahon had Rogers. They all agreed to have the show in Chicago, because the tape was coming into Chicago from New York. Rogers against O'Connor. Put Rogers over for the belt. We'll run with it from there. Rogers had to put up $40,000 out here for the deposit, because no one trusted him. Now, he's supposed to wrestle. Except for a couple of years he had the belt. He's going to wrestle on a Sunday night in Toronto. And he's supposed to wrestle, I forget who it was. And the next night, Monday night, he was going to wrestle Bruno in the Garden and drop the belt to Bruno.
The NWA.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Vince Sr. was going to pay the $40,000 deposit.
Oh.
And they were going to make the everything WWF.
Oh.
NWA got wind of it. They sent Lou Thesz as a replacement, as Rogers' opponent, to take the belt from Rogers if he didn't want to do the job.
Oh, okay.
Rogers did the job, but he went to New York as a WWF champion. No, so San Martino beat
Yeah.
the WWF champion.
Oh.
That's how he became it. That's why they say Rogers was the first WWF champion. But they never made the announcement at the Garden that night. That last night in Toronto, Buddy Rogers lost the NWA championship to Lou
Yeah,
Thesz.
they just brought him in as this is the WWF
This is WWF champion, yeah.
Wow.
That's how that.
Like Pat O'Connor in Rio de Janeiro winning the Intercontinental title.
Pat Patterson.
Yeah, Patterson.
Yeah. In the Intercontinental title, the U.S. title?
Right now?
I mean, isn't that it?
Oh, yeah, it's like right below the world champion.
But I mean, Intercontinental would be U.S., wouldn't it?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. Well, they have like different. It's different.
I know.
It's a different name for it.
There's all these little back things going on in the back that you never know about sometimes. Of course, how much deceit do you think there is going on in Hollywood?
Oh, exactly.
Washington, exactly. No. They're all offices.
more time, you get to keep them.
To put the word in the streets.